Oklahoma bringing in, and you set the stage for this last week in our discussion, best recruiting class according to most of the services since 2010. So you've got to be pretty pleased.
Absolutely. Great class for Coach Stoops. And it was a pretty boring National Signing Day, honestly, for Oklahoma fans. We had 27 commits. All 27 of them signed, and we didn't have anybody added at the last minute. But like you said, his best class in years. And usually coaches who kind of fall off on the recruiting trail, not all of them are able to make that back up. So that's really encouraging to see. There were a few guys we were maybe kind of keeping an eye on today, most notably Marvin Wilson, who ended up going to Florida State. We kind of had one eye on him because he really liked his in-home with Oklahoma coaches last week, but didn't end up happening. But that still gives Oklahoma a top 6 to 8 class. The last few guys that we were able to get committed, we got Troy James out of Baton Rouge. We got a wide receiver, Ryan Jones, from North Carolina. We flipped Tyrese Lott from TCU to Oklahoma, and he's an Ardmore guy, Ardmore, Oklahoma. And it's just going to be really tough for any Texas program to pull Oklahoma kids away if we really go after them. And then a few days before that, we committed a defensive back out of Arkansas, Trey Norwood. So 3 of those guys we pulled right out of SEC territory, which is cool to see. We've got 9 Texas kids in our class, 6 Oklahomans, and we were able to pull guys from California and a little bit from the East Coast as well. So all in all, a really encouraging class from Coach Stoops.
Graham, that shouldn't be too surprising. You keep beating up on these SEC teams. I think it's 4 out of 5 after the Sugar Bowl. So Bob Stoops has had his team back up his words in recent years after a bit of a slump against that conference for a few years. So that mighty good to see for Sooner backers. You mentioned the word encouraging. This class getting back into the top 10 and getting back on the national scene, and especially considering the challenge of what is the perception of the Big 12 right now, that Oklahoma is still able to circumvent that and overcome that barrier of what's considered to be a down conference right now, and that didn't seem to matter too much to recruits.
That's got to be the best thing for Oklahoma fans, is we just absolutely recruited the pants off the Big 12 this year. No offense to anybody else. They were able to make some great last-minute runs at Baylor and Texas, but, I mean, those are classes outside the top 25, sitting around the 30 mark, and Oklahoma is up there recruiting with the Florida States and the Michigans of the world, and that's exciting to see. So I don't expect Oklahoma to have this supremacy forever, but it's definitely encouraging anytime that we can out-recruit our own conference and maybe have that level of talent up on our conference rivals. We just went back-to-back Big 12 champions, and there's no reason to think we can't win the Big 12 another few times in the next several years. I think one thing Oklahoma needs to keep an eye on is just the fact that, as we talked about a lot this evening, the SEC and the Pac-12 and the Big 10 aren't having any problems recruiting Texas anymore. And 12 years ago, it was Oklahoma, Texas, and maybe Texas A&M were recruiting Texas. So Oklahoma got some good Texas signees, but the best Texas signees are going elsewhere, and that's something that Oklahoma is going to want to try to reverse in the next several seasons.
Graham and I getting together on Thursday to discuss the class a little bit more in depth. Graham Dudley joins us from Crimson and Cream Machine, the SB Nation platform for Oklahoma athletics. Graham, we appreciate the time.
Yeah, Mark, thanks for having me on, man.